Hello, 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 hello. Welcome to the 1010s channel. Wow, it's been so long. I went on a break, but I'm back. And I wish I came with a better better set of news to say, something better to talk about. But there are 10 more reasons why the world has become unsafe. 10 more reasons to trust in the Lord, 10 more reasons to have something beyond just this earth as something to hope in. Today we are dealing with a very sad situation we find ourselves. What is it? This thing we call coronavirus, COVID-19. Why am I talking about this? I mean, isn't this place for, Christian education and the rest? Yes, it is. Everything happened on this earth, our Lord and Master has something to do with it. Hence, my input. Today we are talking about 10 things which make COVID-19 which make COVID-19 extremely dangerous. 10 things which make COVID-19 extremely dangerous. When you come to 10 things channel, you always hear 10 more things to do something, to know something, to be something, to go to certain places. Number one, symptoms may not show during incubation period. Symptoms may not show during incubation period. Indeed, the reason there's all this panic about this novel COVID virus is because there are people who don't show symptoms at all while they keep spreading. There are people who get sick, recover, and still keep spreading it even 2 weeks after they have recovered. You know, and so the fact that there are no symptoms, the fact that you cannot look at somebody's face and predict and assume that there's something could be something wrong with the person makes it extremely dangerous. In which case, a doctor is at risk. If the professor in medical science can be at risk because no symptoms may show for him to pick, for her to pick, to be able to know that this is a COVID patient. So that is the number one reason why it's dangerous. It can be still transmissible without symptoms. So that's the first thing why COVID-19 is extremely dangerous, unlike other sicknesses. Some time ago, we used to think Ebola was the most dangerous and the rest, but clearly you could see somebody who had Ebola, there were symptoms. This times, people can be transmitting it without symptoms. Number two, it can stay airborne for some hours. In fact, this did not come up until recently. That after the person has coughed, sneezed, or whatever the person did to release the droplets into the air, those droplets can hang in there, hang up there, wherever, can hang there in the atmosphere so that when you are passing by, you can inhale them. You can take them on your body and then, get them into your orifices, get into your nose, mouth, eyes, ears with your hands later. And they can be there active in the atmosphere for 8 hours. I mean, talk about an undercover operative. So, this disease is actually dangerous enough to have worked on animals, been transmitted from animals to man, and traveled several distances, to all over the world. So that's the second reason. It can be airborne. So that makes it extremely dangerous because it can be airborne. I think that's what makes it sensible enough to have a nose mask or to have something to protect your eyes. Initially, when people started that, we thought they were being too, they're just being too much. But now you're seeing the sense in that walking around with your nose covered is sensible because you could go and pass some place where they are in the atmosphere and they can get into you. And then the third reason why COVID-19 is extremely dangerous because it spreads very fast. You catch it, you know, you transmit it, in your fluids on your body where you touch, so long as you're sweating and the rest, where you cough through, you speak through, and on your machines you use computers, whatever you touch, they can hang there where you touch for some time. So when somebody comes to touch it, so there's so many avenues that the virus spreads in the air, on surfaces, and the rest. on the person as the person speaks to you, and all of those things as a person coughs and you come into contact with something on the person's body and the rest. And because of that, there are several avenues for which you can be touched. For which reason it makes the disease extremely dangerous. So that's the third reason why COVID-19 is very dangerous. And I'm coming to the more juicy reasons for which reason I'm doing this vlog. You know, and this is one of my favorite ones. Number 14, it is no respecter of person. When diseases come, and then usually when they are showing it, you see on the major news CNN and the rest, oh, this disease that as a result of all the failed in Africa, the disease is spreading as a result of the poor infrastructure, health infrastructure in Africa. That disease is spreading as a result of the lack of medical personnel. You see, the impression is always created. The disease is spread because the place is full of poor people. Unfortunately, this disease has come up to show that there can be a disease that travels in the circles of the rich and middle class. You're having CEOs, you're having celebrities getting infected, we're having presidents getting infected. And so clearly, it has made it dangerous. Suddenly, the people in power have to take something serious because it's affecting them too. So that is one of the reasons why COVID-19 is extremely dangerous because no one, there is no confinement, no protection that can keep you away from coming into contact with the disease if you allow it to get out of hand. It's a typical zombie movie kind of situation we have here. So, number 5, why COVID-19 is extremely dangerous. It can overwhelm any health system. It's not a matter of the system was overstretched before, or that NHIS has not had money, or that the health system was not robust and the rest. I mean, look at what it did to China, a country that could build a hospital in a matter of days, an entire hospital of over 1,000 beds in a matter of days. I'm sure they could go into a Guinness Book of Records. And yet it killed thousands there. You know, Almost everything we need for health and health management is now made in China. In fact, there are some of the things that cannot even be made any other place but in China. And yet, look at what the disease did to the place. The only thing that contained it was the draconian, strict, overbearing quarantine measures that they took. Even that one is still latent, hiding there, and it could really surface if not dealt with. So this was once again proving that this narrative always, where whenever there's any news, wherever there's any kind of information, the impression is always created that diseases spread because there's fear, diseases spread because there's poverty, diseases spread because health systems are not good, has also been turned upside down. And we can see clearly in what it's doing in the very, very developed countries, you know, that is what that mindset should be changed. So that is the um, fifth reason why COVID-19 is so dangerous. Now, the sixth reason why COVID-19 is so dangerous is because it does not regard the human rights of anyone. Once we spend most of our time determining what orientation, what kind of desire should be allowed, should not be allowed, who should be allowed to do what, where, and which minority should be protected against which majority and the rest, this disease comes and doesn't matter what orientation, what religion. I mean, doesn't matter sit on or what presidency you have assumed or what kind of setting that you're sitting. It doesn't matter what kind of security detail you have. It doesn't matter what kind of bulletproof vehicle you have or what kind of presidential jet you use. The disease can get you there. Can get you there. It doesn't matter the isolation system you put in place. If you let it get out of hand, it can get you there. So it has made this very extremely dangerous. Where presidents are now having to put themselves in isolation, chancellors are putting themselves in isolation. I mean, presidents are catching it and all of that, in spite of the security, in spite of all the expertise in medicine around them. So this disease is no respecter of person. It doesn't spread among the poor alone, doesn't spread among the rich alone. It spreads everywhere, you know. And in that one breath, it tells us of the interlinkages in humanity, irrespective of all the barriers we put between ourselves by reason of race, by reason of social status and social standing and the rest. You know, we live in a world where when your own president that you have voted for is coming, you have to get off the street for him to come and pass. The very person you place in power now, when he's coming, you have to get off the street for him to pass this all the street that all of you have built. But this disease has shown that doesn't matter what pedestal, what where you are, it can get you up there if you don't take the right precautions. So it does not regard the human rights of anyone. And that is why even in this day and age, in very developed democracies and all of that, people are being told to be quarantined, people are being told to stay indoors by force. People are literally being quarantined by force. Businesses are being shut down by force, you know. I mean, things that you could never have imagined were even possible in a democracy are happening. They're happening right now, all because of a disease called COVID-19. It is extremely dangerous. Now, there's seven reasons why it's extremely dangerous. There's seven reasons why it's extremely dangerous because it is new. It's a new strain. Usually, when you hear scientists arguing, they talk about how it takes billions and billions of years for species to form, for speciation to happen. It takes billions and billions of and all kinds of slow changes before an organism assumes that newness that to be considered a new species. Where here we are saying COVID-19 is not a new species, it's a new strain, and yet it is new enough for no health system in the world to have its antidote. Isn't that strange? I thought they said it has to take billions and billions of years for such uniqueness to evolve. And yet within this short period of time, another coronavirus has arisen. And it's so unique that the world systems and all the labs and all the billions that have been put to tackling it is still not effective. And nothing conclusive has been found that can deal with it, in the name of a cure or in the name of, you know, immunization. It always tells us that mankind and our systems and scientific methods are not enough when it comes to death, when it comes to dying. It shows the shortfalls of our logic that we can take care of ourselves, that we know what we are about and know the end all and be all, and that we are dependent on ourselves. It shows that it's not true. It shows that it cannot be possible. Because severally, when we set up something, unless what we have set up, what we anticipated happens, we are not able to deal with it. We're not able to deal with things that we don't have full knowledge on. It's because our knowledge is limited. It's limited to experience. We only can deal with what we have experienced and learned from. Even if you have experienced it and not learned from it, we can't deal with it. That's how limited our so-called exponential knowledge is. All the knowledge on the internet cannot deal with this virus. All the knowledge on the internet could not be adequate to deal with this virus. All the books written, all the knowledge accumulated for centuries could not tackle this virus. And yet we claim to know something, know enough to disprove the existence of God. And yet we didn't know enough to deal with Corona. And we're on our knees. Now, the eighth reason why this COVID-19 is extremely dangerous is that it cannot be blamed on underdevelopment or poverty. As I said, whenever there's a problem in this world, it's either blame on ideology, blame on religion, or blame on poverty. In a third world country, such things are prevalent. As a third world country, such situations are prevalent. As a third world country, such things will arise. You know, it got to a point where anybody who saw you and you said you came from Africa, assume you had Ebola. Now such people, similar things are being done to them, and they are finding it untenable. the selfishness of man at play here. Prejudice is not a good thing. It has no foundation because the experience that has led you to look down or to be judgmental of someone, when you experience the same thing, you will not agree that people should judge you or that people should look down on you. It's only a function of selfishness. It has no basis in law, basis in any form of philosophy. That you look down on a man simply because as somebody similar to him has had an experience you are aware of, or has been in a situation you are aware of. So you use that one to judge him to even though you've never met him, never met her. So this cannot be blamed on poverty. It's causing as much devastation in the developed countries as it's causing anywhere. In fact, the difficulty is that typically the poor countries that typically in the tropics are the ones that are not having espresso for so much. And then people are wondering why that is happening. And people keep wondering. Initially, they said, well, they could not test. Now that they could test, now they are wondering why. What is people expecting there to be devastation? No, please, for once, for once, poor countries are learning from the failures of rich countries. All we have done is just admire and envy their progress. But for once, when it came to dying, we are learning from the experiences and we are taking better steps than out of their pride, out of their dependence on their advancement. They did not take. So that's the eighth reason why COVID-19 is extremely dangerous. And the ninth reason why COVID-19 is extremely dangerous is because it is interfering with human relationships. Imagine having, just about a month or so leave and you travel and then you get to the airport. They say, no, you should be quarantined for 2 weeks. You have not seen your wife, your husband for such a long time. No, this disease is saying that quarantine these ones, otherwise I will go with them to their houses and infect the people over there too. This disease will travel with you wherever you go. You carry it wherever you go. So it is interfering with human relationships. Wives have to be kept from husbands, husbands have to be kept from wives, children have to be kept from their parents. Parents have to care for their children. So it is interfering in human relationship. This disease has made us, for one, say that human relationship and human interaction is not as important as human life. That is what we are saying. Our life is more important, and then not just our life. The fact that you are not dying alone, but when you may die and also kill several other people, and maybe end up killing thousands of people who have been infected by people who have been infected, who also get infected, and it goes on and on and on. So it is interfering in human relationships. It is saying people should be kept in the room. People should be kept in their town. People should be kept in their city. People should be kept in their country. People should be prevented from moving to countries or moving to territories, regions, districts, and homes. It's interfering with human interaction, human relationship. It's isolating humans and exposing those with issues of mental difficulties into depression and all other things. So the people that are dying in this time, the only people we are counting really are those who are killed directly by COVID-19. But the consequential deaths of people that develop complications because the attention was all on this is not even being counted. And that could even be more than the ones that are being caused by COVID-19 itself. The manpower that has been shifted to deal with it instead of dealing with the normal sicknesses we know. And the last one, which is typical of us too, the last reason why COVID-19 was seen is dangerous because it was seen as someone else's problem. It was seen as someone's problem. In other words, it was seen as a Wuhan problem, Hubei province problem, a China problem. It was seen as a China virus, and now it's been exported to all over the world. And because we saw it as China's problem, nobody tried to help when they were going through it. Nobody offered any help. Everybody thought, well, let them deal with it. Now it's all over the world, and now hundreds of billions are having to be committed to deal with it. People are going to be paid for not working because we don't want them to infect other people. An extreme economic cost. Businesses are going to collapse because when it happened in China, if the entire world had moved in to stop it from spreading, it would not be here, causing all the deaths that caused, killing people that were not ready to die. People who have escaped all kinds of other sicknesses, just